Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be tackling a little bit of work on the front left fender. I crunched this fender up at Drifting the Plains 2 of 2023. It wrinkled up some control arms and the fender pretty bad. I fixed the control arms, but I left the fender alone for a later date. In a previous video, I showed pulling out some dents on the driver rear quarter. I used this fixture that I mounted to the wall. Today I will not be utilizing that fixture that I mounted to the wall. I could move it over to the wall behind me, but I'm gonna try and do this a little different. Maybe pull out the fender liner and try and massage it from inside the fender well because I have access to it. When we take a look at the driver front fender, I hit the wall with the front of the tire at angle pointed outward, and it pushed it back up into the back side of the fender, which you can kind of tell it's maybe 2.5 to 3 inches of fender that's crunched and rolled backwards. I'm going to try and pull that out. We're going to clean this up around where that seam is ripped, and we're going to weld that back together. Just little tack or stitch welds to get that back together. And I'll end up having to paint this section so it doesn't rust real bad because it's starting to get some surface rust down here where the tire had rubbed on this. I believe I'll be able to access this big dent right here from the inside. There is a plastic liner in here that I'm going to try and pull out of here so I can kind of tap that out and see if we can get this to pop without damaging the paint too much. I said that with the rear quarter and the paint doesn't look super great back there, but that's not that big of a deal. It's already rippled. We'll just go with it. So I'm gonna get this thing up in the air, get the tire off, and we'll take a little bit further look inside of the fender and see what we gotta take apart. Now, if we take a look at the inside of the fender here, you can see quite a bit of wear on this. This is where the tire was rubbing from the impact. Now this is where the tear is from the impact as well. That's gonna have to be pulled out. I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna get this to come out without just bending the crap out of this. We'll see. I have a couple of ideas. We'll see what we can do. We're gonna pop out some of these zip ties because I had to zip tie this back in here, and then pop out some of these push pins and get this fender liner to curl out of the way. Got the fender liner out. Now I can basically just pull on this and it's starting to come out a little bit. I just need to make sure I brace at the actual pinch point here to make sure it doesn't unfold and kink somewhere else. And I don't want to get cut if there's anything sharp here. Yeah, it's pretty tight, but it kind of came out. Then again, it's really messed up right here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that, if I can actually pound this sharp edge back in, because I don't want that to contact the tire when I turn and I'm sweeping between lock to lock. Before I tackle anything with trying to pinch the inside here back in, I'm going to get this pulled out to where I can grind this off and at least get a few tacks to hold it together so that it's not quite so floppy on this bottom. I got my big wood clamp here. I'll see if I can get this to go in there and get it tight enough with enough leverage. Then I have a long bar to be able to kind of work this back out. That's working better than the adjustable wrench, because it's actually able to pinch basically right where that kink is. I think that's gonna work. It's not very nice, but this side's already wrecked, so as long as we can get it kind of out some, I'll be all right with it. Man, that's so bad. Just kind of squeezing this ripple flat. It's coming out a little at a time. It looks pretty nasty, but it's got a really terrible flare on it. But we should be able to massage that out with the roller after we get this corner kind of welded back into place, or tack welded at least. Just trying to straighten it out so there's not a kink in the actual tear. Yeah, that doesn't seem so bad. Now we gotta get the bottom too. It's almost there. It's almost like the bottom of the fender is pushed up into it though. I'm wondering if I'll have to maybe just take a cut off and kind of shade that thinner so that I can get a little better grab on it. I went ahead and played with this a little bit, and I did get this to kind of level out and like match up fairly well. I'm gonna grab my like orbital sander and just lightly sand the paint off right here. I'm not looking to take like a flap disc and an electric grinder to this, because that's just gonna rip all of the paint completely gone, way larger area than I need. Just utilizing an orbital sander just to hit a little bit with the edge, just to sand off just enough paint to where I can kind of tack across this. That's all I'm looking to do, is just get that so it's not going to come apart or spread open anymore, so that I can work on rolling the fender as one whole piece and not just like have it all floppy and weird because there's a tear in it. And it's going to help getting this top dent out, because I don't have any leverage if it's not actually tied all together as the whole back side of the fender. So I'm gonna pull the welder out and get the orbital sander and kind of work this seam a little bit so I can kind of tack across it and see what it looks like afterwards. Probably not gonna be real pretty. I don't want the paint to start on fire either. So I do have my fire extinguisher. I'll pull that over here just in case. But yeah, we're gonna kind of sand this and I'll show you what that looks like after. So I got this all set up. I got it ground down enough so that there's bare metal on this seam. I got the welder all hooked up and the gas purged out, so I should be able to just start tacking away on this. It is very, very thin material, like 16 gauge. That's like thinner than a 1/16 of an inch. So I have to be very careful not to blast holes in this, or it's gonna make this way worse than it already is. All I'm doing is gonna be tacking nice and easy down that seam. We can kind of take a look at it. It is not pretty by any means. Auto body welding is terrible. I don't like it. It's very thin, very tricky. You gotta be really careful. I burnt through in a couple spots, so I had to sit there and tack weld the holes shut. The seam is now welded shut, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. Now the fender should maybe be easier to work with a little bit, so that we can actually try and pull all of that rest of the dent up top out of there. Now before I go ahead and grind off this tack weld here, I'm going to leave it there. I want all that material there for the next portion. I'm going to go up inside and try and hammer this out a little bit with like my rubber mallet and my dead blow, and just massage it on the back side. Should be able to get to this pretty easy, and see if I can get that to pop out a little bit and make it not look so ishy right up here. Well, let's give this a shot. Use this right on the inside, just so it's got a rolled edge to it, so it doesn't put any weird square dimples in it, kind of like I did with this adjustable wrench. And see if we can get this dent up on the inside worked out of here. It's gonna be kind of hard It's a little bit too long of a handle. If I can go kind of at an angle. My fingers. Yow. Not ideal, but it's coming out. Well, I think we're gonna call it with trying to like hammer on this part. It's not as bad as it was. There's still a little bit of a kink in the middle that I can't get out. It's really kind of tricky to get a hammer up inside there. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna bolt on my fender roller up on the top and see if I can kind of just even it out, because right back here it's really like pulled hard. I want to match it the rest of the way over the rest of the fender. So what I'm gonna have to do with this, because the fender is actually kind of rolled in towards the front, this is gonna be very awkward to roll. I may need to turn the steering wheel just slightly to the right to be able to accommodate the roller. Otherwise, it's gonna hit funny down here and hit way on the inside back here, which maybe I can use that to my advantage up on the inside back here. I'll just have to kind of play with the positioning a little bit to try and get this to roll how I want it to. So we'll just get this tightened up a little bit and see where it comes out to. I'm gonna have to adjust this many times through the whole like rotation on this fender. It's gonna kind of suck, but there's so much movement on this too. It's gonna be really hard to actually make this move how I want. It's just like floppy here. But we'll try it. We'll pull on it. As long as I don't break something else, it should be fine. Yeah, this is like, it's not actually rolling the fender, it's just like pushing it. It's not doing what I would like it to. We might have to put like an obnoxious amount of pressure on here just to see if it will go. I don't want to rip it off of the bolt holes up on the top either though. Just like bowing it so bad. It's not, I don't know, it's just not really doing what I would like it to. It's making some not so great noises. Well, I think it's better than it was before, because there's not just this huge dent right here, and it's not folded over right where this used to be. And yeah, obviously it's not like super clean there. And I think I'm gonna leave that weld sitting there for right now until I actually have like the rest of the stuff that I want to do to the car prepped. And then I'll sand this down at that time and spray the multiple areas that I want to touch up on this car, so that I'm not doing it like one at a time. I can just do all of them at the one time. I got that pretty much wrapped up besides having to like sand it down and paint it. I'll save that for another video where I'll do a bunch of painting all at one time. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.